Phil Valentine Show. We're back at live at the Hold Their Feet to the Fire event. Well, live, I say that's a relative term. I mean, it depends on how live you are. I mean, some folks have been up since who knows when. Michelle Malkin, still going strong, though.
I am still going, caffeinated, and there's so much work to do.
You've been zigzagging the country, haven't you? Tell us about that.
I have. Open Borders, Inc. launched on September 10th. I was trapped in the swamp for a while in the East Coast, New York City, D.C. I descended from my mountaintop in Colorado, where I've lived for the last 11 years. But the book tour is specifically targeting sanctuary jurisdictions. We're taking the battle straight to these illegal alien safe spaces. So I've been in Minneapolis. I was in Santa Barbara, heading to Phoenix, going up to the crazy Pacific Northwest.
Wow, that should be fun. That's the home of Antifa.
It is, and Open Borders, Inc. exposes a lot of the funding and support behind this group that is fomenting violence against the men and women on our front lines who are guarding us against immigration anarchy.
I have a theory about these folks, because I think I have one in my family. I can't say for sure, but I think. I mean, I'm suspicious of this guy. Here's what happens with these folks. They're normally, the ones that I've talked to and run into are fairly intelligent people, but they're sort of misfits, you know? And so they've tried something and they failed at it. Maybe they were doing something in college, dropped out of college. They were trying this job. And so they think the system there's something wrong with the system. And they talk about Trump, they hate his guts because he's rich. But the problem is, they don't do what Trump did, and that's keep going back and trying other things. If you look at what Trump has done and all the companies that have failed, that's part of the American experience. When you fail, you get back up, you try something else. These folks failed once, think the system's broken, so they think now that they have to scrap it for socialism because that would be fair. Instead of encouraging these folks to get back into the game and try something else, try something different. If these people are actually successful, they wouldn't be beating people with pipes with bandanas over their faces.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting analysis of the young people that have been attracted to the Abolish ICE and Antifa movements. Mm-hmm. But from my reporting, especially since I lived and worked in Los Angeles and Seattle, the Pacific Northwest, I've seen a transmogrification of basic anarchy groups, the Black Bloc. You know, where did those black masks and black costumes come from? And it started with environmental anarchists,
right.
Radical environmentalists who were firebombing clinics and doxing and harassing individual professors. That's right. And that was the heart of that was in Portland and Seattle. Then it morphed in the mid to late 1990s into the anti-globalization movement. And you'll remember in 1999, these people burned down downtown Seattle. For what? Really, there was really no agenda. They hopped trains just like the Democrat Party does, right? What Russia collusion hoax, impeachment that we're having. And it's the same thing with environmental anarchists. Then they became Occupy Wall Street, anti-war groups. And, of course, now the Abolish ICE movement is the latest hobby horse that they are riding.
Well, they don't even understand. ICE is not the folks stopping people at the border. ICE is inner enforcement. When you have somebody who's a criminal, they go and get these people out of the country.
Yes, that's right. But their motto, which I quote in the chapter 5 on what I call the A-Team, Antifa, Abolish ICE, and the Sanctuary Anarchists, is no ban, no travel ban for people who are here from countries that want to do us harm. No ban, no wall, no borders at all. It's very explicit. There's no guesswork involved here.
And I hope for people who are watching the video, this is the book. We got a link at philvalentine.com. It's called Open Borders, Inc. I'm going to get you to sign this before you leave.
Absolutely.
How long because this thing is, I mean, this is comprehensive. And I was thumbing through it because it came with my little package today. This thing is thicker than a normal book. I mean, this is not like your quick read. This is really comprehensive.
It is my largest book at nearly 500 pages out of the 7 that I've written.
You trying to outdo Ayn Rand or something? With Atlas Shrugged?
You could use it as a doorstop for sure. And, you know, the reason why it's so comprehensive is what motivated me to put all of this information in 2 covers was I was frustrated having to do 3.5-minute cable segments to answer this very complicated question, to connect and collect all of the dots of these financiers who stretch from the interior of our country all around the world. And it's important for people to understand, especially in a week where President Trump gave the most important speech that I have heard by a modern American politician at the United Nations General Assembly. Assembly
covered it.
articulating the case for sovereignty, the case for strong borders, arguing that this is the most compassionate of policies that we can have.
Supporting the LGBTQ people, too,
Sure.
Don't start cutting people's heads off. Come on, folks.
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
He's the first president to want to decriminalize that around the world.
Yes, that's right. And yet it's been overshadowed by the impeachment, obstruction, distraction mob that is by design. And all the more reason for those of us here gathered at the FAIR annual Hold Their Feet to the Fire conference to hold both parties accountable. It's the failures of the Republican swamp creatures these years who are not on Team Trump and not on Team America when it comes to these fundamental matters. George Soros couldn't do it by himself.
That is for sure. Yeah. And so what do you think motivates the people in the Republican Party that are dragging their feet on an issue like illegal immigration? Is it the cheap labor?
Yes,
business interest?
Obvious to your listeners, the cheap labor imperative of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Koch brothers, which formed something called the Libre Initiative, which has been lobbying for driver's licenses for illegal aliens, in-state tuition discount, amnesty during the Bush years, and supported the granting of a blanket pardon from deportation, as well as 800,000 work permits to the so-called dreamers.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
On this impeachment thing, does it go anywhere?
No, it's going to be a dead-end train, just like the Russia-Collusion hoax train was. But that doesn't preclude these Democrats from hopping from one distraction to the next.
But do the American people buy it, though? Do they damage Trump, or do they damage themselves more in this?
Well, I hope they damage themselves more. I hope it will come back to bite them in their backsides, because I certainly welcome any scrutiny and public conversation about Hunter Biden's dealings in the Ukraine.
We were talking about, you probably heard me talking about this in the tease before we went to the break. You got a guy drummed out of the Navy for cocaine. He ends up on the board of directors for a gas company. He doesn't know anything about business or gas. In Ukraine, he doesn't know anything about Ukraine or speak the language. The only thing he's got going for him is his father is the vice president of the United States. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, Biden gets appointed as the point man for Ukraine.
Yes.
If this were Trump and Donald Trump Jr., they would be screaming for impeachment, and they should be.
No question about it. I was writing about these matters in 2009 when I came out with Culture of Corruption. Hunter Biden's biography is textbook case of culture of corruptocracy, for sure. And so it does raise this question about where the initial leaks and whistleblower complaint came from. Was it the Never Trump right, or was it the far left mob in the Democrat Party that wants to deliver the final death blow to the Biden campaign?
That's true. That's what the theory is now, is that this wasn't so much to get Trump as it was to get Biden.
Right.
Because that's what it's done. The news media were doing everything in their power not to cover this. Of course, the Biden thing has been out there ever since he was talking to the Council on Foreign Relations in January of 2018, bragging about it, and they still didn't want to cover it.
Yeah.
But now it's out, and he may be toast. The new poll today from Quinnipiac has Elizabeth
Warren.
Yeah,
right.
She's above him. So you think that's the...
I think that...
Is it kill two birds with one stone?
Well, that's what people are saying. And
I'm sorry, PETA, but...
It certainly looks that way.
It does, doesn't it? Well, but they're only going to kill one bird, aren't they? And it's going to be Biden. Trump's not... this is not... Long term, you can't look at this and say there's anything wrong with that phone conversation.
Yeah, right.
Do you think there was anything wrong with it?
No, I don't.
Okay. Michelle Malkin, thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you, Phil.
And the book is Open Borders, Inc.
Who's funding America's destruction?
Wherever fine books are sold.
Follow the money. Find the truth.
We'll have a link at philvalentine.com. Thank you so much.